Stouts and porters. There's more to it though.
Yeah.
There's more to it than just porter. For example, we also produce an oyster stout.
A lot of people get excited about this one, and I'm actually quite excited.
Well, yeah, a lot of the beer nerds do, because it's
Different.
It's a style of beer that's out there, but I mean, nobody makes an oyster stout.
Yeah.
You know, literally nobody makes oyster stouts.
Except the Portehouse for the past 20
Well,
years.
yeah, we've been making it all the time.
Yeah.
Marston's in the UK make one.
You said you read a little bit about the history of the.
Yeah, I was very surprised.
So there's actually quite a long tradition of oyster stouts.
Well, there isn't in fact. That's the weird thing about it. Again, you look at this. It's entirely the same malts and the same hops.
Oh, is it? Okay.
But there would be oysters gone into the beer.
So talk us through the process of the oysters.
In the 1800s, stouts are essentially an English produce. They were always an English beer. They become famous here because of the large corporate brewers up the river.
Yeah.
So in the 1800s, there is documentation of men would eat oysters, eating shellfish, whilst drinking the local beer, which would be a stout. You know, and the guy would, all the beer would be made locally, so they would need finding ways to filter out the beer to take away any sediment in it. So what they used to do was they'd sweep all the shells up off the floor, and you'd pour your beer over. What came out the other side of it would be a clearer beer. The shell of these, the shells of these would calcium carbonate, lots of carbonates, which would be positively charged ions, and all of the sediment in the beer is negatively charged, blah blah blah, folly, and it would clear up the beer. And then what later on brewers would end up would put the shells into the beer, because then that would fall down through the beer to the bottom of the tank, and it would take all the sediment with it, and then you can empty the tank from the top. Easy peasy. And then, now I don't know about although I did read up on this last night, and apparently the story goes that in 1928 in New Zealand, a brewer, maybe by accident or maybe just thought, well sure, we'll give it a go, he threw the whole oysters into the tank, into where the beer's boiling, meat and everything, and what you've come out with is an oyster stout, whereas an oyster stout used to be just a name for a session stout.
Yeah.
Where as we sit around drinking loads of it all day and eating the things, and that became an oyster stout. An oyster stout now is essentially a stout with oysters in it. The oldest recipe I've found for it would have oysters in it and would use a thing called Irish moss to filter the beer. Irish moss is a form of seaweed.
Yeah.
Really cute. Stereotype seaweed. Boil it, you treat it with a certain chemical, and then you introduce it to the beer and it works as a filtration system. The problem is that according to the EU regulations and all these things, everything has to be classified and named, and that particular seaweed is classified as E401. So you don't want to be saying, we use E numbers in our beer, because people would be equating that dash are the same as other generic
That's mad.
international brewers.
That's mad.
So the Irish moss is not really used anymore with the filtration of this beer. Many brewers will still use filings of some description, or isinglass, which is the bladders from fish.
So this beer is definitely not for vegans.
Neither of these two beers are suitable for vegans.
Oh really?
Yes.
The Rasslers as well.
Yeah, the filtration system.
But
Plain's fine.
plain's fine for vegans.
Plain's fine
Vegans?
for vegetarians.
Vegetarians. There's
It's just beer.
Don't tell me that we didn't offer you an option.
Yes. Now this one,
You know exactly where that's going to go.
very different. This one is very different.
The oyster stout.
This is the oyster stout. It's a peculiar thing.
Oh wow. I haven't had one of these in a long time.
Damn it! I said the same thing last night.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
I haven't drank it in a long time, and I thought to myself, oh, there's a great finish on that beer. Right down at the very, very end of it, there's a lovely.
Yeah. It's like a soft complexity. Do you know what I mean? Like
yes.
The softness carries the flavour, and it's like look, if you're a beer nerd, you're gonna have to try this somewhere along your life. Simple as, because it is a unique beer.
Yes. And
it's not a gimmick. It's actually damn good beer.
It's very good beer.
Yeah.
It's not a gimmick at all.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. But very often you would assume that because of the name of it, you know.
There's oysters in it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not eating that. Okay. I don't even know fish and chips.
Yes. That's gorgeous.
That's very nice.
That has there's a lot of flavour in that. Again, you said about it's very subtle. There is a sweetness. It would be a naturally sweeter stout.
Yeah.
I don't know. Depending on the audience here, you'd mentioned that people would ask you for pints of Beamish other than Guinness. Beamish was always.
I like Beamish.
Beamish is always a little bit sweeter than Guinness.
And I think Beamish is compared to Guinness, like if that's the two options, it always is a little bit more flavour.
A little bit more flavour. Tastier beer. Yeah, it's good beer. I guess I'm not saying this tastes like Beamish. I'm saying it is a little bit sweeter.
Yeah.
The way Beamish. I'd imagine it still is. I haven't seen Beamish in a long time.
I'm not a food place.
I'm sure there are that still sell it. So, what think you of Oyster Stout?
It's still surprisingly light in flavour. Like there's a lot of complexity, but when you drink it, it's not heavy.
Yes. None of the flavour points meet. They don't spike. It's a wonderfully rounded flavour.
Yeah. The balance is kind of. It's like a really subtle. The flavours are subtle, but there's lots of them.
And again, they're all. It's big and quite rounded, but light as well. The plain's 4.2%, and the Oyster Stout here, it was 4.6. 4.6.
Yeah.
When the plain won its second gold medal in 2008, the first runner-up was the Marsden's Oyster Stout, which, according to my very limited research, it has to be said, is the only other oyster stout available on this side of the Atlantic.
Where is it made?
Marsden's is in the UK, somewhere up north, I think. There are a couple of the American brewers make oyster stouts, but there's no oysters in them.
Yeah.
They just call them oyster stout. And of course, being American stouts, they're all between 6 and 9%.
Yeah,
you know,
the heavier stouts. Like.
full on, and I'm sure they're massively hopped in there.
Yeah.
Loads of everything. It's a huge beer.
It's a very different style.
Very different drinking.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, at the risk of pandering to stereotypes, the American will do his drinking over 2 hours, and he'll be done. And he'll drink 6-7 strong beers. Whereas an Irishman, he'd rather drink over 6 hours.
Irishman starts on Monday and finishes on Sunday.
Or there's some people that I know will start on the Sunday morning and end on Sunday night. And that's all the way around. Or like me, I started in about 1980.
Started on the 1st of January and finished on the
31st of December. Have a few hours kip and carry on.
Yeah. No, obviously we condemn that kind of behaviour.
Well, obviously,
don't we?
yeah, drink sensibly, drink responsibly is what they say, you know. I think we don't mind that nonsense. Drink as much as you can. Drink as often as you want. You know, you're going to die eventually, alone, in the dark. So you enjoy your time here. There's a cheer for bloody. The sun's gone in now, that's it.
Yep.
That's it. I get all my superpowers from the sun.